Welcome to Heart Home Community's most recent Baldwinsville Community Update. I'm your host, Shelly Hoffman. Hey, everybody, and hey, Mayor Dick Clarke. Long time no see. How have you been doing?
I've been doing good, and just want everybody to know you're back safely from Ireland, where you according to pictures that I saw on Facebook, you were having a great time. So it's always nice to recharge the batteries, see something different. And it's just beautiful, the pictures you had. So,
oh my goodness, you hear about how green everything is, but to actually see it, there's different shades of green that you didn't even know existed until you go over there. And I didn't drive. Jamie drove. So he drove on the other side of the road in the very narrow roads, and I just got to snap pictures and enjoy. So it worked out great.
Well, it's nice. And you got memories that'll last you a lifetime. So
absolutely.
So we're busy. This is a busy stretch coming up for our area. In a good way. We just got school elections done on Tuesday night, and we have some new board members, which hopefully things will settle down with the school board and with Joe DeBarbary taking over as the superintendent, and people can. What I really hope is that people are going to get more involved. Like this kind of came up, and it was like, well, we didn't know this was going on in our school. It's like, and I'm guilty like everybody. Unless there's a problem, you don't pay a lot of attention,
mm-hmm.
And maybe we need to pay a little more attention. And it's on Pack B, the meetings, so you at least can know what's going on in the meetings. You can go and speak in front of the board. I think our citizenry spoke up. They were upset and concerned, and it showed up in the voting. And I wish all the new board members good luck, and know that you obviously have the support of a lot of the community, and go do what's best for our kids.
Absolutely. Yep. Sometimes things have to shake up to remind people that you have to be involved.
You're right. And speaking of kids from the school, very excited to know that the school band will be playing at Paper Mill Island, as they have the last few years, on June 26th from 7 to 8:30.
Nice. That is always a great turnout. You want to see Paper Mill Island packed? Go when our band is playing.
Yeah, and they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's people pay attention when somebody excels in science or if they're a good athlete, but we have people who are really good when it comes to the things that make a marching band stand out. In addition to a great leader, Casey's terrific, but just the style that they do everything, and the kids are just so classy. So that's June 26th at Paper Mill Island. And then we're still working and hoping that we can get even if it's an abbreviated series of free concerts. We used to have them on Tuesday nights. The two towns put them on, and they elected not to get involved with that anymore. So we may, as a village, try to see if we can, do 3 or 4 free nights of music. For those who've never been, it's a great family event. It can take a blanket, lawn chairs, just find a spot on the grass. Usually some source of cheeseburgers, hamburgers, sodas, maybe an ice cream truck out there. And you walk out on the island, you find yourself a plot, you sit down, music plays for an hour and a half, and you go home. Yep. And there's no alcohol. Great family event. And so we're hoping we can get some mileage out of that this summer. Rotary Seneca River Days, not too far down the road, June 9th and 10th. That'll be a fireworks event. So keep your eyes and ears open for details of what the Rotary has planned, but they usually have great bands playing. It's a Friday night, Saturday daytime type of event. If
you're correct, yeah. So we and the plans are taking place because, as you know, I'm a Rotarian, and I missed the last meeting because I was in Ireland. But yeah, they have the bands kind of all set up, the fireworks. There'll be food trucks on the island for Friday, and then Saturday, a lot of activities for the kids, and we have the duck pluck. So, but duck tickets are being sold now, so you'll see them at like Kenny Drugs and out and about. So
I was at the Beeville Supply last week, and there was a table, and I said to the guy who was loading mulch in the back of my vehicle, what's that say? And I should have recognized because he had the yellow shirts on and stuff. And he said, "Oh, that's the Rotary selling the ducks, tickets for the duck race."
Yep.
So it's nice to see our community sort of blossoming back to where maybe we used to be. Church on the Island is coming back. June 18th will be the first Sunday. That's what's in their plans. They're going to go for 12 weeks. That's just a half-hour session in the morning. I'm not an early bird, so I have not made 8 o'clock. From people that I know that have gone, said it's quite spectacular to be out there as the sun is rising and the birds are chirping and
Yep.
boats are
They do
moving
a
on.
great job.
Yeah, it's just a great atmosphere. A lot of the work from the DPW has been done as far as parks. The benches are out, the restrooms are open, the kayak launches, excuse me, are in. From what I'm told, today is the day that the docks will be put in, and the new kayak rental facility, which will be a community park, is scheduled to go in early June. We don't have an exact date. That's up to the company when they're going to come. They'll let us know when they get closer. And that's where you go online and you can rent a kayak for a couple hours, and you'll go down and you show your phone to the sensor and it opens up. You get 2 of them out, however many you rented. And hopefully that'll be a nice introduction to kayaks for people, because kayaks are quite expensive.
Yeah.
And so this is a chance to, take that first trip maybe with a rental and
see if you like it.
And then maybe you buy it. If not, it might be dad and son want to go and they want to go 3 times during the summer. Why go buy a kayak and have it sit in your garage for the rest of the year? You can rent them down there, and we're hoping that'll be a nice service for our residents.
Well, I have a question for you about the parks.
Okay.
I was walking my little puppy Blue, if you remember Blue.
Yep.
And it was super early in the morning, so I didn't investigate, but I noticed all the geese were down closer to the water, like the parking lot side. Mm-hmm. And then I saw a shadow of a dog kind of in the grass. And then I saw your sister Cindy posted that the dogs are in Mercer Park keeping the geese out of the grass. So I thought, when I talk to the mayor, I'm going to ask him about the fake dog that's in Mercer Park.
That's really not new. I mean, that's something that we've done it in the past, but a lot of places like athletic fields and stuff where the geese love to come in and land, it's nice and wide open.
Yep.
And then you've got the residue left behind, and so people post these cutout dogs so that when the geese are up in the air and they look, it looks like, they look real.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure it works till the first time a goose lands that didn't notice them, and then the other geese say, "You see what Freddie just did? Chase him." And then it wears out. And I think you have to move them, because if you keep them in the same place, they get savvy to that. But it's one of the prices that we pay for being linked to the outdoors the way we are, with all the birds, the ducks, the geese, the eagles. They all have to go, so to speak. And the park seems to be a nice place to do it. And so there are some parks that hire a guy with a dog, like to come in the morning, and the dog barks and yaps and all the birds take off, and then they don't come back for a couple of days because they remember there was a dog. But you have to do that pretty regularly, and I'm sure it gets expensive to pay a guy to come in with his dog like that.
Hey, you give me a long leash and a post, I'll let Blue out the back fence. He can run down, get his morning exercise, chase the geese away.
We'll run that one by Chuck McAuliffe and see what he thinks. The visitor center will be opening up over by the boat docks. It's open every day, starting the Memorial Day weekend from 10 to 4. And so you have volunteers there. It was designed for our boaters, particularly, was they come in and they say, they standing there looking around going, I wonder where there's a good place to eat in this town. Well, now you got the visitor center open, and they have menus for all the restaurants. Where can I go I got to pick up some aspirin? Well, there's a drugstore, and it's really nice. And the boaters we've gotten a lot of letters over the years acknowledging how it was helpful. And if you're interested in signing up to do a 2-hour shift, contact the Chamber of Commerce, Marianne Williams, and I'm sure she could find a slot to peg you in for. Again, it's just a 2-hour commitment. It's a volunteer thing, and for a lot of the time, you get to sit on the front porch and relax and watch the river flow by. And occasionally, somebody comes in and wants to, ask a question, and it's a nice service. So that'll be opening up. That makes the boating area just that much more complete. We've got electric and water over there for them to hook up to, and this is a how do I get to here, and where do I find this, and they've done a great job with it over the years. If you see Chuck McCall going slow on your street in his DPW truck, he's probably trying to decide if your street needs to be repaved. He's putting together the paving project. The state has increased the amount of money they award to the CHIPS program, which is the Consolidated Highway Improvement Project money. And it's become big enough that we really can get a significant part of the village redone. And when we do, it just makes the village much nicer to ride around. And you just notice when a street has just been paved and you drive down and it's so smooth. And unfortunately, the weather around here, they don't last long. They get a little bit of a crack and some salt gets in, and the weather goes from 60 to 20 to 60 to 12, and we do that a lot in the wintertime. Suddenly you have these beautiful warm days and everything starts to melt. And the next day it's 16 below zero and everything freezes and our streets get ruined. And if you have a street that you have concerns on, that you think needs to have work done, call the DPW and ask Chuck to check it out. Chuck's pretty, I wouldn't say he's infallible. I mean, he doesn't miss much, but we're all human. We are working on a system that now we have a new code about illegally parked cars in parking lots, village parking lots, because we've had people use the lots for storage. They have a car that they're taking off the road. They don't want to leave it in their driveway. They take it down by the cottage or whatever and just pull it in and leave it. A lot of times they're unregistered because they've taken them off the road. And so they're taking up a parking spot. And particularly in the wintertime, it's difficult because now we're trying to plow and that car is always there and it piles up around it. And so we're trying to get a little tougher on telling people, hey, you're getting your driveway sealed. You have no place to park your car. You're on a street that doesn't have on-street parking. Call the code office and say, we're going to park our 2 or 3 cars down there for a couple of nights. Is that a problem? And they're going to tell you no, but you can't leave them there over 3 days, that type of thing. So that's something we may address tonight at our board meeting. We're now on every other week brush pickup. In the beginning, it's every week. And now because there's a lot going on, and B, a lot of the brush has been moved to the roads from people's backyards. And so we slow down and do it every other week. When the Fireside Inn was built, it was built over a water line. And we have asked the town to relocate around the Fireside and reconnect it. And that's something that hopefully will happen very soon. So if people in that area see some digging and that type of stuff, that's what that's all about. Probably people have noticed work going on at Village Hall. We got a grant through the county and one of the items was to repair the soffit. And people don't know what the soffit is. That's the underside of the edge of the roof. And this case, it's wood, and where there's been some dripping inside and leaking, the wood is warped. And, eventually we're going to get birds going in and putting nests down, that type of stuff. So we repaired the soffits. And then once they got repaired, really realized they needed to be painted in the whole area. So that the village hall will get a nice new look. And, it's important, that the focus of our village, our village hall, we ask people, please keep your property up. Well, we need to keep our property up. And so we're in the process. Just for everybody's comfort, we've just completed a village-wide leak detection effort to make sure that, any major water leaks around the village, because there are times when we find that the water has been leaking for a long time in an area that we just don't normally see that leak, but this system can check it out. I don't know if it's a sonar or that whatever type of thing it is, but it saves us money, and then it saves us damage later when it washes out the dirt underneath the road, and then we get a big cave in. And so that's one of those things that we talk about a lot, where people don't see what our DPW is doing and where your tax money goes. But to me, that's one of those good things. That's like going to the doctor to make sure your heart's still working good before it becomes serious. A couple things aimed for Baldwin Square, talking about a car show on Thursday nights returning to the square. And we're still working on getting the farmers market. The people who had it last year have expressed an interest. I don't know. I have not talked to Village Hall the last couple of days to see if that has been finalized, but it's the same folks that were there last year, somebody from Emmys, and looking forward and hoping that comes to fruition. Probably have seen a lot of digging up in the Brown track on Artillery Lane and Brown Street and so on. Apparently they're replacing the gas main, the lines. It's not in the village. Some of it, no, it is in the village. That they're on the side of the streets and stuff that's in the village. So that, I drove up there one day and it looked like a war zone. There was holes all around it. And so I said, you always go to Chuck. Hey, Chuck, what's going on? So that's all the lines for the gas main being replaced. We'd like to ask people if this is a time when the spray painting starts around the village, underneath the bridge by Sheehan's and down at the pavilion and the facilities at Mercer Park, where people decide to offer their own color coordinating effort to paint garbage on the side of buildings and stuff. If you see somebody doing that, you don't have to stop them, but call 911. That's against the law.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot of unnecessary time and money cleaning it up. I know, I think it was last year I was walking across the bridge and some of the guys were painting over the graffiti, and they said it's a nonstop job all the time to keep the village looking nice.
And we've had a problem over the years. I don't understand the fascination, but we end up with people on the roof of the pavilion at Mercer Park. And I guess that's fun. I didn't really quite get what they do. Is they put picnic tables on top of each other, then climb up the picnic tables to the top one, and then they can get on the roof. And they tear shingles off and throw them like frisbees. And so if we see that, people, please don't try to stop them, unless you really.
Again, I can send Blue down there. He's very intimidating.
Get up on that roof, Blue. But anytime you see anything going on in the village, it's people are damaging property. The 911 is no longer strictly emergency. 911 is our way to link us to the police department. So if you call them and say, can you have a police officer go to Mercer Park? There's some kids destroying stuff. Hopefully our police officers are close by and can get down there and catch them. We have caught people before, and we have filed legal action against them. Sometimes you feel bad. Maybe it's the first time they've done something, but you really would like the message to get out to the general public that we're not going to tolerate that. So, unfortunately, I think back to, and you can ask my sister Cindy for verification, but the word in our house was, if the school or the police have to reprimand you for something, it will be nothing compared to what you'll get when you get home. So believe me, anytime you had a thought of doing like throwing a snowball at a business window or something, and thought, if that ever broke, I can't imagine I would have missed about 6 months of my life being just joking, folks. I wasn't really.
I don't know. Now I'm going to ask Cindy and see what she says.
There was always the threat of,
right.
My father did not tolerate being embarrassed. And particularly if the school called and said, just wanted you to know Richard was goofing around in school today, and it would be like, there'll be no more goofing around, believe me. and the law got laid down.
I have to tell a funny story real quick, if you don't mind. The school called one time for Tay. Now, she didn't do anything too horrible, but the school called, and I picked her up after school with her brother. And I said, so Tay, how was school? Did anything happen? She said, no, it was a good day. And I said, are you sure nothing happened? And she goes, no, it was good, just general day. And Jordan looked at her and said, if mom's asked you twice, something happened. And Tay's response was, they weren't supposed to tell you.
Oh gosh, that is funny. And again, and I may have told the story, but my sister Wendy first learning to ride her bicycle, and she went around the block one time she wasn't supposed to. And a woman on the other street called my mother and said, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want your little daughter riding her bike over her, but she just went by my house. And when she came home, my mother went, how was your ride? Oh, good. How was everything on Charlotte Street? Charlotte Street. I wasn't on Charlotte Street. Oh, yes, you were. And you're not riding your bike for a while.
So in the good and the bad, right, of being in a small village is, yep. I tell my kids all the time, I may not see you, but someone in this village is gonna see you.
And I knew that when I drove my father's car, because my mother didn't drive, so we always called it his car because she never had a license. The police would see me, and they knew whose car it was. So even if they didn't stop me, they might see my father and say, tell your son to slow down, or stop running through on a yellow light, stop when it's yellow, type of thing. And so I was extra careful because I knew there was a message service, this web that wound its way back to my parents, and it stopped us. Believe me, it was a great deterrent.
Yes.
Parade, Memorial Day parade, May 30th, 6:00, starts on Locke Street, goes through the Four Corners, folks, which, if you think about it, means that you can't get through the Four Corners till the parade's over. So be prepared ahead of time. If you have to go, if you live on Elizabeth Street and you need to go across the other side of the river, you probably better get through by 5:45 or wait till about 7:30 or go around. I mean, you can always go up and go over, west of the village and go over 690 Bridge. You can go the other way and go through
Cold Springs
area. And it's one of those things that shouldn't be a surprise because it happens every year. We have the parade on May 30th every year because that is the original, what we call the real Memorial Day, before they changed it to a Monday holiday. And be a nice parade because we're probably the only parade that night. If we go on Monday when everybody else does, everybody's fighting over, bands and politicians and all that kind of stuff. In this case, we might be the only parade in town and everybody will want to be here. So should be a nice parade. A lot of great places to watch it. It goes through the Four Corners over to Tappan Street and up to the cemetery. So there's plenty of spots to get a nice seat. Really one of the highlights of the year for me is the Memorial Day parade. If anybody's been on Locke Street lately, we had those 2 apartment buildings built a few years ago, and then the rest of the street was supposed to be other stuff included in the project, and they've been slow getting to it, but they're have started digging, and I think the foundation's in and maybe more on a new house at the other end of Locke Street, away from the apartments. There's like 10, the whole thing was going to be 2 apartment buildings and then some garden apartment type things, 2 or 3 linked together. And then up a little further was going to be some couple of townhouse buildings, 2 or 3 story building. And then beyond that, 10 long, thin lots that go from the street down to the river. So people will have river frontage. And, the thought was that they were probably going to build like New Orleans style shotgun homes, so that, and there's some over in Camillus by the old state home where they have very little side yard, but they do have quite a bit of backyard and some front yard, and their living room, dining room, kitchen, bedroom, and that type of thing, so that there's not much width to them. And so the first one was getting done, and I'm hoping they're being built by Joe Alberici. Kevin Hanlon's the real estate guy. If anybody's looking, thinks that would be a nice spot. This is, I would think, anybody that is maybe thinking about Micron and wants to have a nice place on the river, that's a pretty good spot.
Well, I know from the time they first started talking about the two buildings, people have been asking, just because, it's a nice place to live. It's still close to everything in the village to walk to love. So, and it has taken a while because I kind of forgot about it. I'm gonna have to walk down there and take a look at that one being built.
Yep. And I'm not sure if that's the apartment complex, but my buddy from college, Greg Britton, whose son Zach Britton pitched for the Yankees up until last year, and whose other son coaches the Norfolk team in the International League.
Wow.
And Syracuse is down there, so he decided to come from Texas to see his son in Norfolk this week because they're playing the Mets, our team, and I forgot where I was going with this.
Something to do with Lock Street, houses, apartments, anything?
He was going to. I told him he should watch today because he's always amazed that that I have become mayor, I think. We had a meeting Tuesday, Zoom meeting, Bruce Stebbins and I and Joe Ferteschi from our law firm with EDR, which is a community planning consultant, and we're looking to put together a form of a comprehensive plan particularly to deal with the undeveloped properties that we have left in the village, and so hopefully that will get started, and we can, people say, well, let's just build apartments everywhere, and it's like, no, not everybody wants apartments everywhere, and the reason I mentioned Greg Britton is he met one of the Mets coaches, is a guy named JP Arancibia, who used to be a major league player, who said he's got an apartment in Baldwinsville, right on the river. So I'm assuming that he must be in one of those apartments behind Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
And said he loved it because he was saying, oh, I live in Baldwin. Well, my friend's the mayor of Baldwin. So they had something to talk about. And I said, get his contact information. Sometime maybe I'll meet him, have a cup of coffee or something. Let me see. Just anybody's interested in a job. Louise, who's been the clerk at the DPW for quite a long time, will be retiring in July.
I mean, I'm happy for her, but why does everyone keep retiring on us, Mayor?
I know. Well, we've had people here for a long time, and Louise has been here she was here with Claude Sykes and Steve, and now with Chuck. And the job has really evolved, from maybe taking care of time cards and answering phones to she's the heart and soul of the DPW. I mean, she has a calendar. This is when the Tree City USA stuff has to be in. This is when this, every year stuff has to be in basically the same time. And so, Chuck has been really busy. I mean, there's been all kinds of stuff going on. He really relies on Louise she runs the shop, and he comes in. Now, don't forget, you have to sign this thing that has to be in by tomorrow. And, so otherwise you could just imagine we'd be way behind on a lot of stuff. So Louise will be dearly, sorely, whatever, missed. But I wish her a lot of luck in her retirement. But in the meantime, we'd like to hire somebody that could work with her for a week or two before she retires so she could show them, where everything is. We just brought on a new mechanic because Skip Sosha retired. And there's a guy who been there for 20 plus years and kept our fleet running big trucks, down to lawnmowers. I mean, he could fix everything. And he's going to stay on as our meter reader for the water stuff because he's been doing it for a few years and nobody else really gets very excited about walking around the streets and going up and reading your meters. And so Skip's going to do that just as a part-time thing. But we brought on a guy named Nathaniel Bednars, who Chuck was very impressed with. And Skip came back for 5 or 6 days to work with him to show him at least, where the wrenches are, where this is where this truck has to be here versus that truck has to be there. And this is the kind of stuff we work on. So hopefully make his transition a little easier. Saturday is a village-wide garage sale.
Yes. You selling anything?
No, we didn't get ready enough. And last year we did, and we didn't get very many people. I think more people focused in the downtown area and didn't come up here much. So it's a lot of work to get ready. And we are having a candlewick sale. I think maybe I don't really want to guess, but it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Jordan Hayes just asked, when is the garage sale? It's this coming Saturday. I think, does it start at 9?
9 to 3.
9 to 3. Yep.
And if anybody wants more information, if you want to get on the list, I assume you could still get on. Mm-hmm. Contact the Chamber of Commerce, and or get a list, of where you can go to look for garage sale. I suppose you could just ride around. The village isn't that big, but this was a nice event. And they tried to do some stuff down in the square and so on. And you probably know more because that's in your, right where you are.
Yeah.
So
they're not doing the tables this time in the square. They are just keeping it out at the houses, but there is a list of who's doing it. But if you're not on the list and people are driving around, I didn't give my house as for the list because I haven't decided if I have enough time to put stuff together with just getting back and everything else going on. But I have a bunch of stuff, so maybe I'll just put it out and say, while you're driving past, feel free to take this.
And garage sale people are pretty good at thinking that kind of stuff ahead of time.
Yes.
Excuse me. And that's about all I got. That was a pretty full list.
That is a full list. Yep.
And I probably missed some things, but.
Well, I will say the only thing you didn't talk about you normally do, which is always busy, is Canton Woods. So anything pop in your head about Canton Wood at all, or is it about the same?
It is very busy. Again, I looked at the calendar. I haven't noticed. We're working on on trying to get an application in. There's a county grant for senior center capital improvements up to $100,000.
Wow.
And the roof at the senior center is 20 years old. So, that's about what they tell you they'll last. So we're looking at possibly that. There are 7 furnaces in that building, believe it or not, because of the way the building was added on to and stuff, and thought maybe that was a possibility of consolidating, a couple of them into a bigger unit, and it would now it's going to last for 20 years. And so and that has to be in by tomorrow. So that will get pretty much finalized today. Chuck has been working with our engineer and with Ruth Troy to decide the best way, the most significant improvement that needs to get taken care of. I'm guessing we're going to go with the roof because it's $100,000 is the estimate, 105, something like that. And the furnace thing was a much smaller cost, which means we might be able to do it ourselves later. But the $100,000 is huge. So that might be something that if that goes through, we might see by the end of the summer a new roof getting on at the senior center. And they're just really busy. I'm sure they're already starting to gear up for the car show in August, because they get sponsors and again, can't say enough good things about our senior center.
Yep. Well, the only thing I'm going to throw in, it's not happening in Beeville, but Pizza Man is part of the Wing Fest down. What is it? Down in the harbor, I think is why they do the Wing Fest. So I talked to Luke and obviously Jimmy a little bit, and they're gearing up. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, one of our local businesses is participating, and their wings are pretty good. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there.
And we do have a lot of good places to eat in this village.
Yes.
I
And
know
the smokehouse is outside. Seating's open. I saw outside seating, people sitting outside at Angry Garlics, at BG1. I've seen people outside. I think that's one of my favorite things to see when the weather changes is all the outdoor seating that the village has.
I know Sal's is looking into getting some
Oh,
outside seating.
that would be awesome.
Yep, that's on the agenda to consider. And actually Angry Garlic started it, and was before COVID. They had Jeff had come to us and wanted to know if it would be possible to put outside seating because they were so packed.
Yeah.
It would be another room for another 20, 30 people. And plus it seemed pretty cool to be, you're sitting out there, it's 10 o'clock on Saturday night and it's a beautiful night out and you're outdoors. And Mike Leffencheck and I met with him and said, we thought it was a great idea. But we didn't want it to be a drink only area where people were to sit outside just constantly getting more beer and drinking and not eating any food. And then suddenly it becomes an issue on the street. And he said, no, we'll make sure that, it's only that people know when they go out there, that's because they're going to have dinner or lunch. If they want to have a beer or a drink with it, that's fine. Worked out great. We had given him until like 10 o'clock and went so well. He said, could we extend it till 11? So we said, sure, until there's a problem. Have not had a problem with them. They got it down pat. I know Sammy's has a pretty good group over there. Theirs is a little different because the area of the sidewalk that they're on is actually their property as opposed to being on a village sidewalk. It looks like it's all one sidewalk, but the sidewalk sort of follows the bridge.
Okay.
And so Sal's approached Tim Gainey, our codes officer, about could they do it. Just have to come and get a waiver of the open container law and have us explain to you what we want you to do, same as what we said to the Angry Garlic. And so that would be one more place. I know Dennis Sick up at Mohegan Manor has some seating outside. I don't know how much it gets used, but they have that little patio deck type thing. Plus on the other side, there's an alleyway that had a couple tables in it.
BG1, oh, not BG1, I apologize. BU uses the patio, which is, they're kind of morning and afternoon. But again, it's a nice, whatever day. What day is it now, Mayor? What, Thursday? If it's a nice Thursday and you want to sit outside somewhere, it's just nice to be outside. It really is,
Yeah.
So
that's all I have.
All right. Well, it was a lot. And again, it's been a while since we talked, but thank you as always for your time. And I enjoy it and you make me laugh. So I appreciate it. Hopefully other people enjoy it. See you, Mayor.
Yep. See you later.